Playing a little air drums. That's what I'm doing today. Playing some air drums because I'm feeling much better. This girl last week, if you didn't notice, was a little under the weather. And somebody in the chat said, you probably should check yourself for COVID. And sure enough, I went there, did the little swabby thing. Whew, bright pink positive, like instantaneous. Woke up on Monday morning feeling like total death. That's why there was no video that came out on Tuesday. Not sure if I'm going to be able to get one out this Tuesday. This is the first day I've felt better. So if I sound like I'm out of breath, it's because I am. I genuinely am. I'm trying my hardest to get it together, but it's just hard to kind of like catch my breath. I did a little medicine, did the whole, thank God they've come up with some inventions. I'm feeling much, much better. So nothing to worry about. Hopefully I'm on my way to recovery. One of the things there's some housekeeping. So Jane Matthews, if you're watching right now, I got your email. The problem is that the email address that you gave me to respond to you is not working. So if you could email me again, Jane Matthews, I would love to return your email, but I can't. There was no phone number. So if that's you in the audience, email me back. There is some things going on in the real estate market, and the housing crash bros are going to be highly disappointed because it's not working out in their favor. So we're going to be talking out a little bit more about that. I found a clip from the CEO of Redfin, who is my absolute favorite. So I'm going to be sharing some of that. We're going to have a little commentary about that. And then I also, I'm going to be talking about some of the numbers that we're seeing. If you saw even on my thumbnail, I talked about the existing home sales have dropped. The pending home sales have dropped. But there's some numbers that you need to know about that are very important if you're in this housing market right now. If you're interested in purchasing right now, it's not all doom and gloom for you. That is for sure. So just know right now, the interest rates, I'm going to go right here. The interest rates, let's see, here we are. I pulled them up. I don't know if Eddie pulled them up, but the interest rates right now are like in the fours. They're so in many cases, it's under 5%. We're in the fours again. So this is good news if you're thinking about purchasing right now because there's more inventory for you to look at. Does this mean that the homes are becoming more affordable? Well, we're going to be talking about that as well. So at any time throughout the stream, if you have any questions, please feel free to put the word question and then the question that you have following. I was supposed to have a guest on today. I don't know what happened. So I think maybe I hope he's okay. I hope he's okay. We talked this morning, so I'm sure it's just something that happened with his internet or something, but I don't know where he's at right now. So I might be flying solo today. So bear with me. So, oh, here, I'm going to put this question up here. It says, Brian G says, question, can you get YouTuber Reventure Consulting on to talk about his market research and what he's seeing in his data? No, I will not. He's not a real estate agent. And most of the people that I have on here are either licensed real estate agents or licensed brokers in the mortgage business. He's neither. So I'm not going to put him on. That's just not, that's why I don't have anybody unless they are licensed in the field that they're talking about. That's what to me professionalism is. You can't just sit there and talk about things unless you've been licensed in it. That's just me. Take it how you want. All right, let's go ahead in the first article, please. Yeah. Oh, use a question mark. That's a good, brilliant idea. Thank you, Debbie. All right. Eddie, you can pull up that article that I had, please. Here we go. It's just me. Home prices cooled at record pace in June, according to to housing data firm. Go ahead and scroll down a bit, please. Home prices gains are cooling at the fastest as demand wanes and supply builds. The annual rate of price appreciation fell 2 percentage points from 19.3 to 17.3. Price gains are otherwise strong because of an imbalance between supply and demand. The housing market has had a severe shortage for years, and we continue to have this shortage of course, being in the lowest income houses. I want you to stop real quick, Eddie, and pull it back up to the top where we were at there, because I want to explain this one thing. It says the annual rate of appreciation fell 2 percentage points from 19.3 to 17.3, meaning the speed of what people were buying homes at has decreased by 2%. That it doesn't mean that, like, sometimes that can sound really weird. So it just means the speed of what people were buying are down 2%. Homes are still selling. All right. So go ahead and the supply building, by the way, too, but they talk about the supply builds. We're still under pre-pandemic levels. We're still not at the levels that we were of supply of homes at the beginning of 2019. Oh, here we go. We're gonna have Ashley. Sir Ashley, did you fall asleep? Did you take a nap?
Oh man, it's been a afternoon. I had a kids event. Sorry.
That's okay. Like, you already know what this article is because we talked about it.
Yes,
All right. Rising mortgage rates and inflation in wider economy caused housing demand to drop sharply in June, forcing home prices to cool down. But hold on. Home prices are still higher than they were a year ago, but gains slowed at its fastest pace in the record in June, just meaning slowing at the pace that they're still increasing by. They're still increasing. Black Knight and mortgage software. Hey, Eddie, that little thing's in the way. Black Knight and mortgage software data analytics firm that began tracking the metric in early 70s, the annual rate of appreciation fell 2 points from 19.3 to 17.3. Again, it's just means the rate of how many people are buying is now 2% less than it was last year. Price gains are still strong because of imbalance between supply and demand, meaning we do not have enough houses. The housing market has had a severe shortage for years. Strong demand during the coronavirus pandemic, it has been exacerbating it. Okay, somebody said, "Oh, you said prices won't drop because housing, we have a shortage of supply of homes." I talk about affordable housing options. That is what my channel is always about. Has always been about. When you look at the supply of homes that could possibly enter the market, there's still not enough homes in that affordable housing range. The current median price went up from last month to the month of July from 407 to 416. The median price home in the United States on average is $416,000. That's nearly $500,000 for the median price home. That is huge. So whenever I say that, this isn't going to be a problem, because there's a lack of supply. There's a lack of supply of affordable homes. You can't find many homes that are under that 3 to 2 to, there's lots of people that would need to purchase those homes. They would love to find a house in the 275 or whatever, but they can't find them. They don't exist. And that's where the biggest problem with either side of this market is. We just don't have enough affordable homes. So I read that in the chat, and I just didn't have the energy this week to sit there and battle people in the comment section because I wasn't feeling well. Poor Sir Ashley sweating bullets over there thinking he was late. It doesn't even freaking matter. It's okay, Sir Ashley. If anybody doesn't know, this is my friend, Sir Ashley. We are in the midst of real estate royalty right here. And he is out of the Carolinas. I had somebody message me on Instagram and say, "Can you please bring somebody from the Carolina area to talk about the housing market?" I said, "Oh, I know somebody. So here he is, my friend, Sir Ashley. Sir Ashley, come on in. You're muted, my friend. You put yourself on mute.
I'm sorry. I'm struggling. So thank you for having me. I appreciate you for letting me come on and just enjoy this Sunday with you. But again, apologize to everyone in the chat for being a little tardy. It was a back to get school festival in my neighborhood for my daughter, and not for my daughter, but because my daughter's in 3rd grade. And
they had a whole festival just for your daughter going back to school.
I know, right? It's crazy.
Wow, that's impressive, man. She must be
crazy.
So
kid. It's pretty amazing.
Sorry. Oh, you stopped. Okay. Anyways, he's back. And so you saw that article. What do you think about uh the numbers that have come out? Because
Um, the
even though the numbers
numbers,
came out, they're
yeah,
still
the
rising in
numbers
price.
came out. I've seen a lot of people talk about, again, like you said, like I thought home prices weren't going to drop. They're not going to go down or anything like that. Whereas, well, you saw I criticize some channels that's talking about a crash, and I've been getting a lot of hate messages. And once I just did the math for them, because it's just math, right? Once I did the math for them, we're still year over year, we haven't dropped. Like it's not happening. So there won't be a crash in 2022. And the what instead of 19% appreciation, there's only 17% appreciation year on year.
Right.
Um, where the average year is anywhere between 3 to 5%. It still shows that homes are selling for a lot more than than the typical year. So if
But
you're
they're
waiting,
not going up as quickly. They're not
yeah,
they're not going as quickly, and there is a bit more supply of homes on the market. That is true. And I will contest there are some markets that I'm keeping a very close eye on. If anybody saw last week, Phoenix, Arizona is definitely one we should be keeping an eye out on. I have some agents out in Las Vegas that say everything's hot to trot still in Las Vegas, but then I have some other ones that are saying, no, they're not. No, it's not. Miami market is still hot. There's, and of course, I don't know anybody in Boise, Idaho. I think I've only had one agent on here from Boise, Idaho. So I know that that's a market that has had like a 61% increase of the amount of people that took a price deduction, a price change um, to their listings. But I don't know enough about that market to make any kind of determination either way. So interesting, interesting. I'm not saying that there isn't going to be a crash in possibly some markets. It's very possible, but as of right now, there does not look like there's going to be an increase of supply of homes that will cause a crash, in my opinion. What do you say, Sir Ashley?
I totally agree with you. What's the dynamic at play right now is a couple things. We talked about the Fed, the interest rate hike, and mortgage rates going up. That had an impact on everything. Home prices obviously had an impact on everything, but just the time of year that it is also having a huge impact on things. This is the time of year where you see home sales start to stop because everybody, as you saw why I was late, everybody's going back to school. Nobody's really looking for homes. So that's causing some buyers to put a pause because they are where they're going to be at least for the next 6 months.
Well,
Um,
I think that's why we saw a little bit of a dip in June and then it come right back in July, because that is a normal housing market. We always have that happens. People are getting out of school, they go on vacations and everything. They come back and they're like, we got to find a house. Then all of a sudden start buying again. We
yeah.
still are not at pre-pandemic levels where I would consider this to be a normal market. I've
So
maintained that we're going to be in a stagnant market for quite some time. What is your opinion on that?
no, I agree. I totally agree. Pre-pandemic 2019 inventory around the country. Again, this is a national level. Each individual location maybe it is going to be different. Not even maybe.
Yeah, it's
Um,
100% different.
so you have 2019. There was almost 2 million homes for sale. Just last month, I don't know what this month's number is going to be, but just last month there was only 1.5, 1.4, 1.5. So we still have 500,000 homes just to get to and even 2019 was a seller's market. Just to
I
get,
thought it was 3 I thought it was at 3.6 million pre-pandemic. I thought it was 3.1 or 3.6. I could be wrong, but
yeah,
it's right
for
around
a,
there
yeah,
pre-pandemic levels.
yeah, yeah, for a balanced market, a balanced buyer seller market, we need that much. But
Mhm.
so it's just, we also have a lot of people aren't understanding or paying attention to where you have this huge demographic shift to where a lot of millennials, people my age and a little bit younger, are right at the home buying age to where we have that second kid to where we're going to need to buy a home. We're wanting to buy a home. So we have 5 million of us becoming of age every year to buy a home, right at that home buying stage. So that's why I think that's going to increase the demand on housing. And there's just not enough supply, as you said, especially affordable housing to meet that demand.
That's it. It's affordable housing. So, and that's my whole thing is that like, okay, builders have stopped building and people are like, we got to build our way out of this. But the builders that are building homes aren't building affordable homes. They're building big houses. So that's still not going to help affordable housing. No matter what the market is, it never really helps affordable housing. Even when the last housing crash happened, it wasn't unless the house was in total shambles did you get a really good deal on it, or you were in an auction house at the right time at the right moment.
And what I'm seeing in the Carolinas is they're not even building, this is unfortunate, because they're not even building huge houses. We're talking about like 1,700 to 2,300 square feet. But because of the demand, at least again in the Carolinas, they're still charging a premium. They're charging anywhere 4, 5, 600,000 for a home that size. Whereas I'm sure you're aware, at least in the Charlotte area, 2014, you had homes that were 3,000, 4,000 square feet selling for that price.
What do you define as affordable housing?
For me, anything, or at least in my area, I would define as anything less than 300,000.
I always say if the average income in the area cannot support the average price of a home in the area, then you have a problem.
That is true.
And in my area, the average price of a home, the average cost for a regular 3-bedroom, 2-bath, not anything fancy home, is not supported by the average income by any means of the imagination. Yep. You have to be a double income high earner in order to afford a house in my area. And to me, that's alarming. And no one seems to care. That's, and they sell like, I mean, even the smallest of houses sell like hotcakes here because people are like, all right, well, it's a lot smaller than what I wanted, but, and I know it's more than I wanted to pay, but at least we got a house and out of an apartment, we don't have a lot of apartments here either. So people your age and millennials, anybody trying to buy a home right now are having a hard time finding anything that's, and even though that their supply of houses has increased, there still isn't enough affordable homes for these people. That's what I define as affordability problem, and we have a big one. And it's like I've been saying this for the last like 4 years. Nobody was listening. Now all of a sudden, when their kids can't buy a house, they're like, "Oh, you remember when Kristina said that? I guess she was right."
Yeah. No, you are 100% right, and I like your definition much better than mine. As far as
Really?
affordable housing, I like your definition much better than mine. And Byron, yes, I have a little gray. I'm actually very proud of my gray, but I am a millennial. Like I'm at the top end. Don't get me wrong. I'm at the top end of millennials, but I'm still here.
I'm a Gen Xer. Proud of it. Jess and Jason, I am a first-time home buyer. What are the major things I need to be aware of as a first-time home buyer? You need to be, in my opinion, and you'll give yours, Sir Ashley, you need to interview your real estate agent and have them go over that sales contract with you so you understand it. So that way, when you are making an offer, you understand what you're putting on every single line and you feel confident in that. If your real estate agent is new and she's just filling in, or he or she is just filling in blanks, that is not how you're being represented and represented correctly. You need to have somebody that understands each one of those lines and how they can fill it out so it protects you as a home buyer. That's all they're there to represent is you. And I know I will caution anybody on this stream, and I don't care how you feel about it, Sir Ashley, but I always caution people against doing dual agency. So if you walk into a house and that's the listing agent that's on the sign wants to fill out a contract for you because they represent the sellers and they want to represent you as a buyer and they'll give you a discount, to me, in my opinion, that is not the best way to represent you as a client. And, everybody runs their business completely differently. I know some people, especially real estate agents, will argue with me saying, I can represent both sides fairly. And I say it's in my opinion, that's a no. Big giant red flag. No way, Jose, as you as a consumer, do not do it. That's me. But
I,
go ahead,
I
Saraj.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. Um, you should not, accept that uh, one bit. You should have your own representation. Even when you go to talk to a builder, you should have your own representation. So, because remember, those representatives at the builder community represent the builder. They're not really looking out for your best interest. So, no matter what, you need somebody that's an advocate for you and that's looking out for your best interest throughout the entire transaction and your best interest only. You cannot adequately say, I'm looking out for your best interest, but I'm also looking out for the seller's best interest. You just, you can't do that adequately. So no,
No.
I'm totally with you.
Oh, good. And I will say, I want to add something to that builders thing. Okay, so whenever you're doing a builder's contract here in our area, they never sign the state contract, so they don't have to abide by that law. Once you sign the builder's contract, you have to abide by everything that's in that builder's contract. You need to work with a real estate agent that understands how to read a builder's contract and find the ways and loopholes that protect you as well. At any time during your transaction, if you do not feel comfortable with the verbiage or the wording or anything else that you have been getting, take that contract, the whole entire thing, walk into a title attorney's office and say, excuse me, title attorney, I'm under contract for this house and I don't understand what this all means. Can you explain it to me? And I guarantee somebody will reach out to you. I guarantee it. People are looking, people don't want you to sign your life away, like they really want you to be able to get your own house. I know that sounds crazy in the world that we live in, but not everybody's a jerk. Not everybody's a jerk.
Because I am my former life before I became an investor. I practiced law, so I am a
Oh,
non-practicing reformed attorney. So I go over the contract line by line with my clients. So like you said, you need somebody that is experienced and know exactly what is going on in the contract. And a lot of, at least in the Carolinas, they change the real estate contract, the state contract, about once every 2 years. So you need somebody on top of it. And I'm not going to say, I'm not bashing anybody that joined the industry in the last 2 years, but they are not aware.
seasoned.
They're not seasoned, or they don't know that the normal real estate market is not like it has been the past 2 years, right? It's not as simple as putting a sign out in front of the yard and getting 15 offers. No, I like the days to where you have a week, 2, 3, even a month to marinate on a property.
So Joseph asked an interesting question. I don't know if you know anything about this, but he wants to know my thoughts on modular home market going into 2023. It's very interesting in purchasing a modular home. So building materials, as long as the supply chain problem is going to be a problem, it's going to be a problem for modular homes. They have seemed to work out some of the problems, like it's going much smoother than it did a year ago. So I can see that the production of those modular homes getting done quicker instead of having to wait 18 to 24 months. It might be back down to 12 to 10 to 12 months, which used to be only 3 to 6 months. So I don't think we're going to getting to those pre-pandemic levels. But I will say this, there is a lot more interest in government entities in modular homes. They're much more open to the idea, especially for affordable housing options in their communities, because they know they can be built quickly. So I am very hopeful for 2023 because I've been talking about modular homes and what they really are really well made, fantastic homes. Many of them you've been in and you don't even realize they're modular homes because they are regular construction. They are typical construction that you would see every single day. They just happen to be like the walls and everything was made in a factory. So yeah, I think that we're going to see more of them. I think we're going to see them more on the market, in the market, and I think that hopefully the attitudes towards them will change as well because people get confused about them. So that's my prediction. Oh,
yes. Go ahead.
Do you know anything about modular homes?
I do. Modular homes are very big here in the Carolinas. Very, very big.
Are they really?
Yes. Yep. Aside from like the city centers, over by the coast, they're very big. In the middle of the state, they're very big. And in my opinion, modular homes are built better than site-built homes because they don't have to deal with the elements when they're being built. If you go to a construction site with a large community where they're building homes, you see that lumber that's just sitting there has to deal with the elements, the wind, the rain. It's not much snow, but snow, sometimes ice, and then you see warping and everything like that. So when you have a controlled environment where it can be built, and you know that everything is being built the same way every single time, you have that controlled environment, I just think it's a better built home.
Well, it's not only that, it's been proven they're more energy efficiency.
Yeah.
The seal on them is much better than like wrapping a house with Tyvek and having somebody come out. I mean, there's so many different tests. The modular construction is a much better home for someone purchasing it as well, because the lifelong money savings that you have is double what you would have had with a traditional built home. So
Yeah.
that's why I like it. My first time seeing one of your live streams. Welcome, Dusty Green. Welcome,
Well,
welcome, welcome.
Dusty, thank you for joining us.
This is Sir Ashley. We're in royalty today. He's been duly knighted by the real estate.
Yes, yes.
Oh, I don't know if you caught the thing that I sent you about the CEO of Redfin.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna show you some of this, but I'm gonna preface this to everybody. I spend at least once or twice a week looking for the clips of the CEO of Redfin, because he always makes the most ridiculous comments on the planet. He cracks me up because he literally is, the sky is falling, and then he's like, "It's not my fault." The next minute, totally
And,
hysterical.
no, I agree with you. He is a good follow and a good listen. I like him.
Yeah, somebody real quick. I saw this. Eddie, you can pull that up while you're pulling it up. I'm going to answer Scott Hunter Spaceman here. It says, Kristina, is a bad time to start a career as a realtor or real estate agent asking for a friend? No time is a bad time if you have the gumption to do it. I started my real estate career at the beginning of the worst economic housing crash in modern history. You know, like the people can think about as the last time was during the great crash. You know, so that's when I started my career, and I did fine. My husband lost his job, but I was able to sustain us by selling houses during a real estate crash. So if you have the will, you have the power to do it.
And I tell everyone, again, I'm not. Yes, it is what I do. It's how I make money. But I tell people, I consider myself an investor at heart first, and I tell people, look, it doesn't hurt for you to have your real estate license, even if it is to buy or sell your own home.
But here's the thing, Sir Ashley, let me just say this. Okay,
yeah, 2.5.
You go to real estate school, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
They tell you little things like, you know, egress, ingress, all this other stuff. They tell you nothing about the state contract, not a thing. They tell you nothing about negotiating deals. They tell you nothing about filling out that contract correctly. So sure, yeah, they save themselves 3% technically, but how much money could they have saved if they worked with a real estate agent that knew how to fill out that contract that would have protected them and made the sellers pay for a lot of concessions?
You make a very valid point. The flip side of that, or the next step to my statement as far as you getting your license, is one, affiliate with a team and a team leader that can assist you in that process, because you're going to be green, brand new. You're going to want, you know, some guidance, some coaching. So at least in the Carolinas, you're going to have to associate yourself with the brokerage and just make sure you have that guidance, so you know you're not going to fall into any of those pitfalls. But even if it is, even if you have to split your commission with a team leader or somebody guiding you, that's still, just for an average home, that's a few thousand, more than a few $1,000s.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, if you're good on that, like if you got a good education behind that, yeah, go for it. You know, if you plan to get into it and where you do understand all that, that's fine. But just getting a real estate license doesn't mean that you're going to end up saving all this money.
No, getting a real estate license does not prepare you to buy or sell a home. It doesn't prepare. It prepares you for the test. I mean, that's all it does.
Yeah, that's like a lot of things. Like your driving test, with that written test is just so you know your laws, but it doesn't necessarily tell you how to drive a car. Eddie, can you put up that clip from Redfin at the 11-second mark, please? Oh, here we go. Here he is.
Well, I think it could have been worse. Analysts were worried that the market had completely crashed, and instead, over the past 4 weeks, it's gotten better. So in June, demand was far worse than almost anyone expected. We had the biggest rate hike since 1987. Economists were thinking that there'd be a 1% decrease in home sales, and instead there was a 9% decrease in home sales. So people freaked.
All right, pause it, Eddie. All right, so he says all this stuff, like he's like, well, the thing is I wasn't wrong about the crash. I mean, the numbers look so bad, because he kept going on all these things, going, we're in bad shape. This is all falling apart. It's all doom and gloom. I'm like, why is he doing this? He works for Redfin. Yeah. Then it comes out that the guy lays off 6% of his staff.
Yes.
6% of his staff. So he had to put this narrative out there that the whole world was falling apart, because he had to fire 6% of his staff, because he overhired. It was his fault. He admits this in this clip. He overhired. Now it's like then he has to backtrack, because everything didn't fall apart. So then he has to say, oh well, yeah, well, we just weren't expecting it to be as good as it was, but then he's like, oh crap. He's like, we're not out of the woods yet. We're not out of the woods yet. I mean, everything looks really good right now. I mean, interest rates are really low, but we're not out of the woods yet. And then he says, he continues to say, I feel really bad. I had to fire those people. It was on me. It was my mistake. I'm sorry.
Now, one thing I do have to give him some credit for is that a lot of people don't own things, and it took him a roundabout way to get there, but he eventually owned it. He eventually owned it. Like it was on me. It's not like he eventually owned it, but no, they like everyone thought that the housing market, or they just weren't ready. They weren't ready. They don't understand the seasonality of real estate, and we're not back to the norms by any means just yet, but we're getting back to the seasonality.
Right. And I don't people are like, why don't you want to crash? I don't want anybody to lose their house. Like, if anybody went through the last crash, it was awful. It was awful. People got in situations that no one ever explained the contracts to them. People were just selling houses, and lenders were just lending money. And they were in over their heads. They thought they could afford this house, and then it ends up being that they couldn't, or their job laid them off and they couldn't afford those houses. Speaking of job layoffs, that loves to be in the headlines, but again, for another month, the jobs numbers come out. Did you see this?
I saw it. It blew away projections.
It blew away projections. And it isn't just in hospitality. I think people were doing is, as much as they're leaving one job, they're moving to another job that's willing to pay them more money. And so some employers are not very happy, because they keep saying nobody wants to work. Well, nobody wants to work for your wages. That's what it comes down to.
And so that's what I'm thinking, not to get too off topic, but we talk about jobs being added.
It relates to the housing market. It does.
Yeah. When we talk about jobs and people leaving their current employer to go somewhere else, and statistics have shown that in the past 2.5 years, if you've left an employer and went somewhere else, you likely got a 9.2% increase in pay after accounting for inflation. If you stayed at your current employer and got a raise after inflation, you actually ended up losing almost 0.5%. So it was prudent for people, and is prudent for people, to, again, find out the fundamentals for that next job or that next employer, but to change employees. It'll be better for you in the long run.
Well, I always see CEOs going, there's no loyalty in the employees anymore.
Oh, no.
There's no reason why, they never want to stay or have any kind of relationship with their employer. They never give a reason for the employees to want to stay. When my dad, he worked for a company, when he worked for them to the day he died. But he also had incredible health care. He had a pension plan. They gave him, everything that you could possibly want for the later years in your life. He was set up in a way that he could not fail. Those things are not set up for employees anymore to make them want to stay. You bring those things back, and I bet you have long-time employees. Genius. I know. And all of this, you're thinking, why does this relate to the real estate market? I'm telling you, it relates to the real estate market because if the jobs market goes to garbage, then you see a bunch of houses go up for sale because people can't afford them because they lost their job.
So that's what people are forgetting regarding the last the housing crash in 08, 09 is not only the interest rates, but you had a lot of forced sellers. People lost their jobs and everything like that. In addition to, their interest rate resetting and having to pay more with an ARM, a lot of people lost their jobs. In this instance right here, not only is 96% of the loans fixed for 30 years, no ARMs, there's a high number of employment and nobody's losing their jobs. So you don't have those forced sellers coming into the market that have to take a reduced price. So that's one of the differences that we're experiencing now as well.
I'm gonna venture to say there's going to be a lot of people that are going to stay in their house because they ended up purchasing their house at such a low interest rate. They're like, you know what? I'm not going anywhere.
I've had this conversation with 3 people in the past 2 weeks to where they actually thought about moving. And because they see a lot of homes on the market or more homes on the market, right? So they thought about moving, but then once they did the numbers, they're like, no, we're just going to get a bunk bed. We're just going to get a bunk bed, put the kids in the same room because we have a 2% interest rate and our payment to something is X amount of dollars. And if they moved, their payment would be just about, I wouldn't say double, but almost double.
Well, they're under 5 now. Interest rates are under 5. I didn't think I'd see it. Honest to God, I did not think I'd see it. And I'm not the only one who didn't think they would see it. I mean, there's lots of people.
Yeah.
But they just keep trickling down. So it's time. If you were on the fence as a home buyer, and you have the money and the nest egg and everything else, it's time to start opening your eyes and taking a look, see what else is out there. So Eddie wants me to say unemployment dropped another notch from 3.6% to 3.5%, matching the more than 50-year low reached before the pandemic took hold. Yeah, so we're pre-pandemic levels as far as jobs are concerned. I just think low income, low wage jobs are just one of those hard jobs to fill. And a lot of people during the pandemic got themselves some education. They were like, you know what? I can't work 2 minimum wage jobs. I'm going to learn how to do coding. I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to learn how to make my own business out of making these bracelets that everybody seems to like. Everybody came up with their own idea because you know what? They're working 9 to 5 with 2 jobs at minimum wage is kind of the pits. So they're having a hard time finding low income, low wage earners to want to work. And I've
had some friends in the past 2 years when they, while everybody was at home, they not taught themselves, but they learned how to code. And there's always a need for that job, or not always, but right now there's a need for that job. And they went from, they just about doubled their salary by learning that skill while everybody was at home.
Somebody says, Killian one says, on some Facebook moving sites, people are showing links for the home they're selling. Most bought less than 2 years ago, yet almost double the price for what they bought it for. Well, anybody can ask anything for their house. I could literally put out a sign tomorrow saying it's for sale for $3.1 million. Anybody can do that. That doesn't mean that's what the market is willing to pay for it. That's for darn sure. No one's going to even come look at my house at $3.2 million or 3.1. Like that's just the people do that. And especially when they're selling on their own, they feel like, well, they can negotiate down if they want to, but they don't understand that they're so overpriced. No one's even going to negotiate down, That's what people do.
And that's what I'm seeing right now. At least that's what I'm seeing in the Carolinas, is that you have these sellers who see the headlines and see these things. So what they're doing right now is just putting, and I feel sorry for the realtors that are listing their homes like this. But actually, I don't feel sorry for them. They chose to take that listing, but they're putting their house on the market at a ridiculous price, hoping they get it. And that's why another reason why you see all these price declines, because the market is saying, we're not paying that. That's ridiculous. Even with prices going up, you're asking an insane amount. So a lot of these sellers that would have had multiple offers in the spring realize that they missed the boat. So they're coming with some crazy ask right now. And that's what it is. It's an ask and they won't get that number.
He said crazy ask, A-S-K. just so you know, just to make that clearer.
That is, yes, I said ask. Sorry.
Crazy ask. You know, the thing is with sellers and pricing and in this market, I understand as a seller not knowing everything, the ins and outs of what's going on in the real estate market. This is one of those times that you have to trust your real estate agent and look at the comps for yourself. Ask them, like, where are you coming up with this magical price? If they're just coming out of thin air with it, then you just need to tell them to go away. But if they're giving you real comps of houses that have sold in your neighborhood in the last, like, I don't know, month or two, so you can get a good feeling for what has sold, then price your house. That makes more sense, right? Don't just, well, last year, you know, like Peggy sold her house for $450, so I should be able to get $475, $480 for it. But that may not be the case. They may be right at $465, you know, and you would have gotten an offer a lot quicker. And now no one's going to come look at your house. Just trust your real estate agent on this. If you can find a good one, if you don't, then move on. Did we go off the sideways? I don't know. Sometimes that happens. My concentration level right now is not quite right. I told Eddie, I'm like, this is kind of like I've been drinking, but I've had nothing to drink. Every time I get up, I'm like, woo. I'm like, I'm not sure if I like it or not, but yeah, I'm feeling kind of toasty all the time from the COVID, you know.
Well, I'm glad you're feeling up to do it, to do this live stream. I definitely appreciate you.
I'm gonna probably pass out after this. I'm not gonna lie. Long story short, says with a $2 super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Do you guys want to make new mortgage percentage predictions? Do I want to? Oh, I still say we're gonna end up at 7-ish at the end of the year. A 7-ish.
Wow. I don't think that high. I think we're going to be in the low to mid, I'd say 6.4. Because I believe with the jobs number coming out just now, which is hot, that means the Fed is going to have to increase hot. That means I have to make sure I put the last syllable on the end of my words now. They're going to increase the interest rate. At least I think they're going to have to do 75 basis points in September. And depending on the CPI this week, they may even do a intermediary meeting rise in August. We'll see.
Yeah. You know, the thing is that, like, I want everybody to realize these are just guesses.
Yes, just guesses.
Nobody in the universe is right. We're just going by the data that we've seen so far. And this is what we are standing at today. Next week, that can all change. So just know that, because people will be like, you said 6 months ago that our interest rates were only going to be at 4%. And now look at it. I'm like, I told you that we were guessing on the data that we had right now. And I specified, I'm guessing. This is just my educated guess. Doesn't mean that I'm sticking in the stone as that's the correct thing. And like anybody to do that would be foolish. Anyways, that was my soapbox moment. This one says, question, will new build communities allow you to use your own mortgage broker company, or you're required to use their financing company? No, you are not required to use their financing company. They entice you by saying that if you use their finance company, they'll give you like $3,000 in upgrades, or they'll give you $3,000 or $6,000 in closing costs. They may give you the upgrades and the closing costs, but they own that company. Trust me when I tell you, they're not giving you literally nothing. They're giving you nothing. So by using their mortgage company, they're going to collect that $6,000 one way or another in some dark printed thing in that mortgage statement that you're filling out when you close. They're getting their $6,000 back one way or the other. And with what the really big ones, they know they're going to make their money back. They would prefer that you use their mortgage company, because that $6,000 that they gave up at the beginning really means nothing when they have a 30-year mortgage on you where they've gained all that interest on that money. So, it's up to you. Just always check side by side with two products, at least two, minimum two products. What is the lender giving you, the lender from the builder? What are they giving you? And what is the lender that you like, that you trust, that have been working with? What is he giving you? And have those numbers, because there's a sheet. There's a sheet that both of them use, and you can compare them and ask questions like, what's this mean? Why do we have this? Why is this so expensive? Right? So what do you say?
No, I totally agree with you. Actually, earlier today, I had a call with, it was going over a contract and talking about the new home builder and their mortgage finance company. And I told my clients, we need to obviously get 2 or 3 opinions, and do not get tied into having to use, their mortgage company. See what other options are available to you so you can compare apples to apples.
Apples to apples. That's correct. Oh my God. We have moderators. I hope that we've gotten rid of that person and removed them. Yeah. We did get a super chat though. I'm going to put this super chat on this screen here. Hey. Oh, Killian one says $10 super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. You were so much fun. I hope you feel better. I am feeling better. I'm not sponsored by this company whatsoever, but Paxlovid is the medicine I tried. Within 48 hours, I felt like $1 million. Another company, if Eddie can bring that out to me, that a cleaner. So this company, I have to tell you guys about this. So a company reached out to me and said, that they had seen one of my really old videos, right, about cleaning the toilet, because we have this weird toilet ring in in our toilets here, and they saw my old video and they were like, that's a fantastic video. We actually came out with a new product and we would like you to review it. And I'm like, well, perfect timing, because I'm cleaning my house, because after COVID, I want everything clean. Oh, let's see if Eddie can get in. It's open, Eddie. Hold on. It's open. There you go. So funny. Eddie was opening the door. Okay, so this company, it's Nature Tech. It's Nature and then TEK Incorporated. They sent me a whole box of this stuff to clean my house with, because they heard I had COVID. They sent me 6 bottles so I can clean my entire house, this surface cleaner. So I'm really excited. So here's the company. I guess I don't know if it's sponsored, because they didn't pay me to do it. They did send me product for free though. And this is the company. So there it is, Nature Tech. So I'm going to try them out. I'm going to let you guys know about it. But it smells like heaven. Like, it's like a nice, clean smell. It isn't anything that was like... And no, it's not making me feel funny. That's the COVID. This stuff smells nice. It's not one of those kinds of smells. It's not one of those like, it's just nice and clean and fresh. And it's their multi-surface cleaner that they sent me a whole case of it, because they heard I was sick. That was so nice. That was so nice.
That is very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. So Utah real estate broker here, in the business for 4 years. BPOs increasing. Is this a precursor to foreclosures and short sales? So are they BPOs on real estate that has been sitting in backlog since before when the pandemic started? Because there was a lot of offices that were closed during that time, and they just had inventory that was sitting there. So like they couldn't sell it because of numerous reasons why you can't sell it during. There's so many reasons why they weren't selling a lot of foreclosed properties or homes that were supposed to be foreclosed on during the pandemic. Some of them are finally hitting the market, but that doesn't mean that there's signs of a crash. Now, I know the Utah market is one of those markets that went up exponentially. It'd be interesting to see what happens there. We talked about the water situation out there too. And I think if that continues, that's going to be a real problem for their real estate market. Phoenix, Arizona, Utah, Las Vegas. If they can't get enough water out there, what are they going to do? I mean, then you have worthless real estate. Then you have all these people that are like, I have a mortgage on a house that I can't even get water to. Like, and then I'm like, I'm not trying to like throw doomsday stuff out there, but it is one of those things I think about at night, like I'm sure it's all going to work out. But in the meantime, every day I'm like, where's the levels of Lake Mead. Ugh, I don't know. Have you seen that at all, Sir Ashley?
I hadn't seen that. That is news to me. I need to do some research as far as the water levels in out west.
Yeah, yeah, it's really terrible. We talked about last week, and um, Jeff was on here. I don't, Jeff, and he sent me a message, and I meant to say something about it because he was saying that the numbers were even coming out a little bit worse in there. But he said CBS, it says that millions at risk of power outages, even because the water runs the what do they call it? I'm pulling it up. The electro. Here it is. Thank you. Millions of people in the Western United States are at risk of seeing reduced access to water and power because the water runs the electromagnetic.
Yeah.
Thank you. It runs that. So they're going to not only have not enough water, they don't have enough water to give them power. So that is where is that dead pool status. Hydroelectric. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Long story short, I was like, I could not pull that out. I'm like, oh, look, we have 420 people watching the stream right now.
That's
420.
amazing. Thank you. Go ahead and hit that like button.
Yeah. Now we're at 427. Because all because I made a 420 joke. Can't help myself. But I think about those people. I think about the real estate that they own out there. If that becomes a continuing issue, that seriously concerns me. But interest rates are good. I'm all over the place with this stream today. I cannot keep my train of thought.
That not to get too off track, although, but the water issues, and we're talking about property insurance and all that. I've actually talked to some property insurance companies, and they said with whether people want to, I'm not saying climate change or whatever, but with the change of the temperament of our earth, that
you make it sound like the earth is just in a really bad mood.
Everything they said, one thing to really be on the lookout for is insurance premiums rising, because insurance companies have been making large payouts recently, and they're going to want to recoup this money and not have to continue paying out this that money. So that's something to consider when you're moving, trying to relocate in the country. Pay attention to certain things like that, environmental things, because it will have an impact on your insurance.
I'd be interested to know, if you live in California, how much your homeowner's insurance is, because it was said years ago, and I don't know how true this is, and maybe someone from Jeff Underwood, he said thank you for having me on the show. It was said that the people in California paid the least amount in homeowners insurance because there was so much competition of homeowner insurance companies out there. So even though they were having fires and earthquakes and floods and all this stuff, people's homeowners insurance wasn't nearly as much as people in other states that didn't have those issues. And it makes you wonder, like, somebody's going to be making money somewhere. And CEOs need to fly planes. And even though they've been shelling out a lot, they're still making their billions in their pocket. I don't feel bad for insurance companies, and I really don't think that it's necessarily something they have to do is increase premiums in order to cover their expenses on rebuilding homes. They find every way under the sun not to pay out as much as possible.
I agree.
Living in Louisiana, I've seen it firsthand. The best company, if you are a vet, definitely get what's the one for vets?
Is it
AA?
Yes.
AA, yes. Thank God. Yeah, get them. Like my parents have them. Told them to stop using State Farm because State Farm was doing them wrong. This is not advice. This is not advice. I'm not giving you information on insurance companies. This is just my personal opinion. This is not advice. But I said, do not do State Farm. Go to the Veterans Affairs ones, the AAA. They will take good care of you. They will take good care of your insurance needs. And we had a tornado that hit our house. Neighbor had that. They were at their door with food and blankets within 20 minutes of it happening. I'm not joking.
That is amazing. That's talking about customer service. That's
heck yeah. Yeah. So that, like, if there's anything that we do right for the vets, it's the homeowners insurance. That's the only thing that I know of on record that I can honestly say that I know for sure is a good deal. The Navy Federal Banking. That's okay.
Then USAA. That's what I was thinking.
USAA. Thank you, lawnmower. Oh my gosh. My brain is like Swiss cheese. I cannot, things that I normally could recall just like that. I cannot. I got COVID fog, I guess is what they call it. So average cost of homeowners insurance state by state, $250,000 dwelling. Alabama is $1,597. They're the most. I would think Louisiana would be
$2,100.
Arkansas. Wonder what happens in Arkansas that makes it so expensive. But look how low California is. $1,084. But then again, when would you find a house for $250,000 in California? Sure. That would be a dream.
Touche.
Yeah. Louisiana, $2,009. That sounds about right. Because of my homeowner's insurance and my property tax is about the same. So Kansas, $2,800. That makes sense because they have freaking tornadoes everywhere,
What does it say for North Carolina, South Carolina? If you don't,
Eddie's gonna pull that up. Eddie will pull it up.
He's sorry about that.
Yeah. You're always causing problems when you come on the show.
Late.
And relate. Oh, that's it. You're going in the bad corner after this.
No, that's about right.
Yeah. 1,000. Oh, your homeowner's insurance is cheaper than ours.
Yeah, that's about right.
That's about right. Arkansas has tornadoes, somebody said. Dusty Green says, I will follow this water crisis very carefully since I do some producing for a large future tech YouTuber. That's from San Diego, and we will be writing a story. It is a super serious issue. Correct, Dusty Green. Welcome to the Dusty Green's getting a lot of shout outs today because he's new. Buster the Coffee Rat. This is a cool name. I love those screen name. Question, continue. Can't we do something like the Japanese did in Tokyo? They had an affordable housing problem because the city was higher bombed in 1945 and almost all the homes had burned. Yes, we can. We've done it. We've done this before. I've talked about this 100 times. After World War II, we took modular construction. Many of the homes that you used to see where they were like 2-bedroom, 1 bathroom, where it would be 2 bedrooms on each side, bathroom, and the kitchen was towards the center, like probably something your grandparents had, or even 3-bedroom homes. They were very, very small, and they were all in a row and all the way down. They went all the way up through the East Coast. They were modular construction. They built them super, super fast, and they were trying to encourage as many people to have little families after the war because that's what we did. People came back from war, they missed their girlfriends and things happen. So anyways, that's yes, it can be done. It has been done.
That's a different live stream. The birds and the bees. That's a different
totally different live stream, but you know what happens. And yes, it can happen again. And you know what? And the thing is, if they're worried about the population decreasing so badly, because it has decreased.
Yes.
If you gave people a shelter they can afford, I guarantee they'd have more time to do the things that they need to do to make more of a population.
I've talked to a lot of friends. We had this conversation about like kids and everything, and and a lot of them are like, look, some of them don't want any because being able to afford a kid, and then a lot of them are like, we're not going to have another because cost of living is so high. So if you can get housing to be affordable, and then not to get daycare more affordable, you'll help facilitate that.
Yeah, you give somebody a safe space to live, and a lot of things can happen. West Coast Local says, question, 2008 real estate crash was due to a bundled mortgages backed securities. Is there anything similar going on now that may pull the plug on all markets? And this is one of those things that I have said constantly. This market, this one right here, if there was to be a real estate crash, it would not be because of kooky mortgages. The mortgages that were out, back then were terrible. And anybody under the sun with a driver's license and an electric bill could have gotten a mortgage. And they could claim they made $315,000 a year, even though they couldn't hold down 2 jobs. It didn't matter to them. Everybody got a mortgage. Anybody and anybody got a mortgage. There were friends of mine that got mortgages, and I was like, what is going on? What are we doing wrong, Eddie? He's like, nothing, just, and of course they lost their homes. That is not what's happening now. Today, the people that are getting loans, in order for them to get a loan, it's like they have to cut off an arm. You have to show so much documentation. They kind of put you through the ringer. We actually refinanced one of our rental properties, and it was like nonstop. They were constantly checking things, constantly checking our bank accounts, constantly checking pay stubs. Always, like, I'm like, how many times we got to turn this in? We just turned this in a week ago. Well, they need it again. Yep. So yeah, it's a totally different process in order to get a mortgage these days. My prediction, the thing that's going to cause if there was going to be a crash, it's the jobs market. If we see a bunch of people losing their jobs, then they can't pay for their mortgage. Then there's going to be a surplus of houses on the market that would cause it to crash. That's my personal opinion.
No, I agree with you 100%. That will be the pull the plug, because again, last housing crash, you had forced sellers. They had to sell because of, they couldn't pay the arm when it got adjusted. They had to sell. And if people lose their jobs, people will have to sell because they can't afford the mortgage. So you would need forced sellers, and the jobs market you have to look at that. And so I agree. If people start losing their jobs and can't afford their mortgage, then yes, they will be selling and prices will come down. They don't necessarily have to go through foreclosure. They may get filed a notice of default, which is the first step, just letting you know you're 3 months behind. But it won't necessarily go through foreclosure, because if they bought in the last 2 years, on average, they have about 40% equity. So that right there will not allow it to be foreclosed on, because you have equity in your home.
That's the labor and statistics. Somebody put in there, they're like, I don't trust the labor numbers. And, here's the thing, like, and that is, doesn't matter who's sitting at the podium spitting out these numbers. I don't always agree with them too, because they never factor in how many people, they never do this. How many people have just literally checked out? Like, they're like, you know what? I tried to look for a job for over 2 years now and I can't find one. They're no longer a part of the statistic, because they're no longer getting, any kind of benefits because they don't have a job. Like, they're no longer part of that equation. So how many people actually just said, you know what? Who's totally checked out of the job market altogether? We don't know that number. There's no number out there of how many people have done that.
Another thing that I don't think people are accounting for is the gig economy. Even though people may lose their jobs, I just want to caveat what I said. The gig economy is supporting a lot of households right now, to where they may have lost their job or got fired, but they have a side hustle or something like that is bringing in a substantial amount of income. So
isn't it like giggity, like an OnlyFans? Giggity.
So I think that's another thing we need to, that wasn't prevalent in society back in the last housing crash. So it's just one of those things that as we progress and live, we need to account for these things.
Progress. Eddie wants to know how we're doing on time for you. I don't want you to just
Oh no, I'm good. I'm good.
Uh-huh. Somebody, Dusty Green has something he wants to say. I'm going to put him up here. This last little comment here. I'm putting it up here, Eddie. Boxable should use the population collapse for marketing. Boxable baby making boxes. I'd love to see. I've heard there's a little. My friend Kerry Tarno, if anybody's seen his channel, he talks a lot about affordable housing options as well as myself, and he said that they started delivering them and putting them in people's yards. I would love to see it. I can't wait for somebody to see a real boxable in somebody's backyard. We've been waiting a long time. Excuse me, I just burped. Forget my rudeness. I've had that problem recently. Question: I'll switch from using builders lenders to paying cash. Good call. Now they say I will have to pay title insurance costs at closing. Is this routine? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it totally is, because the title insurance has nothing to do with the mortgage itself. It has to do with the title of your house. So you want to
And
make sure that title work is clear.
you definitely want to make sure title work is clear, that everything that you're able to have, fee simple is what it's called legally, the legal terminology, complete ownership of your property. So you want to make sure it goes back and there's no encumbrances or liens on the property. So you do have to pay.
And just a little story that I'll share with you. Somebody I sold a house to when it was a brand spanking new subdivision. They buy the house, neighbors buy the house, neighbors buy the house. State of Louisiana, it's not required for you to get a survey in order for you to purchase a house. So nobody had a survey. So the neighbor next door is going to sell their house, and the people that own the house that I sold to were going to put a pool in their backyard. Well, they go and bring their plans to the planning and zoning, and they're like, you need to have a survey done. So they go to get a survey done, and they find out that the neighbor's house, part of their house, driveway and garage, is on their side. And now their house is pretty much on the property line of the neighbor's house.
Yeah.
So like all of these houses, like, the first 10 houses, the property lines were incorrectly put on there when the houses were built. Nobody checked that title insurance protected her, so she was perfectly fine. And luckily the neighbor next door had their title insurance, but they were able to clear that up because of that title insurance. You want to have that.
Eddie, can you put Coinster up there? And I'm sorry, we had a spam issue while you were going over that. The moderators have taken care of it. Thank you, moderators. You all are amazing. Definitely.
Do we have a spammer again? I had somebody put some sexy stuff on there. They were thinking they were going to get away with that. Ugh.
Yeah.
I have no part in that. That is not sponsored here on Kristina Smallhorn's channel. No, not my style. A little old for that. So, yeah, thank you. Everybody's saying thank you. So, anyways, Eddie, I want you to do me one more favor. Go back to that. If you look in the notes section on my computer, and it shows you the minute mark where the CEO said the funniest line. This funniest line I've heard in a while. He always says the craziest stuff. Everybody should follow the CEO of Redfin because he says some funny stuff. I think it's like 3 minutes and 8 seconds. I think that's where it's at. Question: Fed chair at most recent press conference, Hag said labor market needs to soften for economy to improve. Thoughts? Seems like they're trying to force a housing crash. What is your thoughts?
I heard that, and I actually think it was I heard that one in conjunction with his last 2 meetings ago. His talk was talking about the housing market needs to reset, and yes, technically, because if people lose their jobs, that means people can't keep affording to buy everything, and inflation will cool down, and will bring prices down. I heard it, and it sounds like that is what he's saying. However, the numbers are pointing somewhere else as far as not crashing.
You mean the Fed says stuff just to get people emotional enough so they'll do something without doing something?
Shocker.
They do it all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, the Fed will literally hint at stuff for things to happen. So they will say, "Well, it wasn't our responsibility. We didn't do it. We just talked about it. We just talked about it. We didn't really do it. We didn't push the button. You guys reacted to something that we said that we might do, and now it's actually doing that thing. We don't have to do it."
No, this Fed chair, Jerome Powell, has been, I don't know if you want to take it good or bad, or however you want to take it. He is very, very vocal when it comes to, he telegraphs what he wants and talks to the market before anything happens. So he kind of eases the stock market and let them know where he's going. Whereas the last time we were in this situation with high inflation, Paul Volcker just did it without any meetings or anything like that. He'll just raise the Fed funds rate. This one, Jerome Powell would just, he likes to talk to the markets to share what he would like to happen. That doesn't necessarily mean it will happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I love how he crafts his words. I'm like, he's a smart dude. He's a smart dude. And I know what he's doing. You know, he's purposely throwing it out there, saying, well, let's see what happens. You know, we're just going to throw some words out there and see what happens. Yeah. So this is the part that I want you guys to hear. This is the funniest thing. Here, ready? This is him firing people.
Ridiculously rate sensitive over the past few months. I'm used to that. I've been doing this for 15 years, but I've never seen such rate increases and consumers respond so strongly to those rate increases.
Here it is.
So what does this mean for those would-be first-time home buyers that are just trying to get on the property ladder and have not been able to?
Yeah, it's a real generational challenge for the fabric of American society. There's a whole bunch of people who are coming of age right now who can't afford the American dream. And the pinch is that they're stuck between rising rents and very high home prices. So we try to tell people to date the rate and marry the house. That just means
stop right there.
Refinance in a couple of
stop
years,
right
but
there.
If you can now buy.
That is the I hate that expression. If everybody would get rid of date the rate and marry the house, that is stop it. What that really means is that, hey, I know this interest rate sucks now, but it's possible in a couple of years it will go back down. So just, get your house, get it where you want it to be, and then you could refinance later. But they're under 5% right now, so they're not terrible. I bought this house at under 5%, so they're not terrible. That wasn't the clip I wanted you to play, Eddie. I made a mistake on that. That was my fault. But basically, he had said the whole housing market's been at this point where it felt like we were on drugs and drank too much and we're waking up from a hangover. He said that on live television.
Oh man.
He always says the goofiest stuff.
Yes.
So if there's any more questions, please feel free to dump them in the chat before we go. I do want to say thank you to you, Sir Lashley. Even though you were late, I still love you dearly. It doesn't matter. I would have waited to the end of time for you.
No, I appreciate you having me. Thank you. You have the most amazing community.
I sure do.
I appreciate you. Thank you for everything you do as well, and for taking care of Kristina this past week. And so thank you. Thank you, Eddie.
Is it normal for regular prices to drop if their houses are at $258,000 has more than organic price drop? Is it normal for regular prices to drop if the house is at $258,000 it has more mortgages more than organic? I don't understand the question. Like after the stream publishes, Bubble Nugget, go ahead and put it in the comment section below. I'll be answering them today as much as I can before I go take a nap. Because honestly, when I'm done with this, I am wiped out. If you guys knew how incredibly dizzy I am right now, man, you'd be like, what's wrong with you?
Rest up. If you need anything, shoot me a text if I can help you in any way.
All right, I will definitely do that. If anybody needs to get a hold of me, you can always go to my website at KristinaSmallhorn.com. If you're looking for a referral, please fill out that referral form, but leave a correct address, email address, and a correct telephone number. Like, I can't get a hold of you if you leave a bad email address and a bad phone number. Not going to do it. And there's no reason to spam, like you don't have to fill out 100 of them. I got one of those. Somebody filled out 12 of them. And they just kept filling them out. And I don't understand what they were doing there. But anyways, I got a hold of them. Bad email, bad phone number. So I didn't really get a hold of them. But you fill it right there. If you guys need to get a hold of Sir Ashley, tell them exactly what your real estate market is so they can get a hold of you.
Yes. So I am in the Carolinas, North and South Carolina. My team covers both states. Me personally, if you want to work with me personally, I am in the greater Charlotte area, but you can go ahead and my website is sirashley.com, SIRASHLEY.com. Just reach out to us and somebody will get in contact with you.
Are you a financial advisor as well?
I am not a financial advisor. I am a
Okay.
real estate advisor.
You're a real estate advisor. No, I just was wondering because I mean you have a degree and everything. So
No.
that's what I was like, I'm like, is that on his list
No,
of degrees?
it's not on my,
That's
it's
your
not
next
on my
one.
list. This is my next one. Yeah,
That's
no,
your next one.
I am a investor, realtor. I am about
It's
to.
realtor. Don't say it wrong because you'll get harassment mail. I got harassment mail because I said realtor instead of realtor.
That's my fault. I need to get affiliated with a company, but I will have my mortgage license as well. So not that I want to do loans, but I want to know the back end so I can advise my clients properly and what they're getting and what they're seeing.
Everybody wants to know the back end. That is for sure. Here, look. And if you need anything, just make sure you clean up everything with your Naturtech ink all multi-service cleaner. They didn't sponsor me, but I just thought I should do this because I feel like this is my moment to shine. As like I've always wanted to be the Vanna White girl. This is my moment to be the Vanna White girl. Look,
I like it.
Naturtech. When you have COVID, clean up your house with this stuff.
I wish there was like a star going by right there. There you go.
Da-da-da. I always wanted to do that. Like I always wanted to be Vanna White, like, whoa. Speaking of being a Vanna White, I'm going to try my darndest to get a video out to you guys on Tuesday. If I cannot, I am sorry with the deepest regret. I just have not had the energy. This is the first day I've spoken this much at one time. I'm kind of proud of myself. So
you should be. You should be.
You should be. I think I'm about to lose my voice, so I can hear it fading out. So I appreciate everybody showing up today. There was over 400, almost 500 people that showed up today. And I appreciate you spending your time with me. If you have any suggestions for our next live stream that you would like us to talk about, please put it in the comment section below. Also, if you have anybody that you know specifically that happens to be a licensed real estate agent or a licensed mortgage broker, I will interview them and see if they would be a good fit for our show. But they must have a license in something. They can't just be talking out of their rear end. So sorry about that. So goodbye, everybody. Have a fantastic day. Thank you, moderators, for taking care of the chat because we had some freaky people in there today. Man, like, what were they thinking? They picked the wrong stream to be advertising their naughty bits. Their naughtiness. Kristina does not care for that one bit. No. Kristina rocks. They say.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, Kristina rocks. Thank you, Stargazer. I think I rock. Rock and roll. This is some rock and roll music that it's got going there. You don't like rock? You're not going to dance?
No, I'm bobbing my head. I'm more of a two-step.
All right. You can dab on